I have a priest colleague who taught for many years the Jesuit high school in Chicago, taught religion. And he would give the boys written homework assignments. And so when he got those assignments back, he called out the ones that were especially, insightful or meaningful, and he would share them with his fellow priests. And I came upon one of these assignments. This was written by a 15-year-old boy, and the assignment was describe in writing a time in your life when you were a good Samaritan to someone. And the boy wrote this. In the summer before I entered high school, our church planned a day for the elderly and handicapped at a local hospital. I volunteered to help. When I got there, I was overwhelmed. I saw crippled women, paralyzed veterans, forgotten old men, frail little kids, all of them looking for someone to show some interest in them. I couldn't breathe. I hurried away by myself. It was just too much for me. I paced the grounds of the hospital for what seemed an hour. I became angry at God and totally confused at seeing so much pain in one place. I was more lonely than any of those patients. I was the one who needed help, not them. But after a while, the God I had vented my anger on suddenly became more real to me than ever before in my life. I sensed that God loved these people in a special way. It was a strange experience, a sudden decrease in faith and a sudden increase in faith, all in the matter of a few minutes. I returned to the place where all the elderly and handicapped were, and I began doing everything I could think of to make them happy, getting them drinks, talking to them, just taking an interest in them. I made a lot of faces glow that afternoon. Now, that assignment that the boy wrote is a beautiful illustration of the message that Jesus gives us in the parable of the Good Samaritan. Here's a young person who struggles to overcome his natural inclination toward self-centeredness, and as he does so, he finds that he is able to give of himself, his time, his energy, and with the result that in his words, I made a lot of faces glow that afternoon. But the young person's service to the elderly and the handicapped had another result, one that came as a surprise to him. He put it in these words. But of all the faces that I made glow, one face stood out above all the others. I will never forget that face. It was my own face. I had never before felt so happy. So the story of this young person is not just an illustration of the parable of the Good Samaritan. It's also an illustration of another truth, the one that Jesus teaches in today's gospel. If anyone wishes to rank first, he must remain the last of all and the servant of all. And commonly we think of serving others in terms of the good that our service will do to them, for them. But today, it seems to me, Jesus is speaking here of service to others in terms of what it will do for us. If anyone wishes to rank first, Jesus does not criticize someone who wants to rank first. It's no sin to want to rank first. There's nothing wrong with wanting to excel. It is a good thing to strive to be the best that you can be. It's just that Jesus shows us a way to be the best that's very different from the way the world shows us. If you want to rank first, if you want to be the best that you are meant to be, try to put your own needs and your own wants and your own desires in second place and concentrate on serving others. Not because it will do good things for them, it will, of course, but do it because it will do good things for you. You wonder why that's so? I think it's because when we give ourselves to others, especially those who are really needy, we find Jesus. He was the one who said, as you well know, I was hungry, you gave me food. I was thirsty, you gave me drink. I was handicapped, and you cared about me. I was unloved, and you loved me. The message in today's gospel. I want to close with a quote from Albert Schweitzer. That name is maybe not too familiar with people in the 21st century, but it's a very big name in the 20th century. At one point he was named, I think by Time magazine, the man of the century. This was before the century was half over. Time likes to, get out there in front of the curve. Schweitzer was a concert pianist, and he was extremely talented, probably the best in his time. He played in concert halls throughout Europe and filled them. And yet, something was missing in his life. And on his 30th birthday, he gave up forever being a concert pianist. Enrolled in the University of Paris in order to get a medical degree, in order to spend the rest of his life taking care of impoverished people in the back villages and jungles almost of Africa. Spent his entire life there. And he found a happiness that he never found as a concert pianist. He said, I was entertaining rich people in the concert halls of Europe, but I found greater happiness and greater joy taking care of poor people in the huts of Africa. Here's what he said at the end, toward the end of his life. I don't know what your destiny will be, but one thing I do know, the only ones who will be really happy are those who seek and find how to serve others. When we eat this bread and drink this cup, we proclaim this truth. If anyone wishes to rank first, he must remain the last of all and the servant of all.